Yo, what's going on, Headliner Nation? It's Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners with my final mock draft of the 2021 NFL offseason. We're just a short while away from the NFL draft finally being underway. We can put all the rumors, all the speculation, all the guessing to bed, and we can finally move forward now with the 2021 season and where guys are going to be landing. Now, you know how we do it here on the Fantasy Headliners. Our mock drafts throughout the offseason are really about playing out different scenarios and seeing how different things could shake out in the draft. That's what this is all about. This draft, though, this mock draft is it. This is my final guess. I've had a chance to read through a lot of the different reports, check out some of the speculation that's coming out, look at what different beat reporters have been saying that they've been hearing, my own research, things of that nature. I am not going to agree with a lot of these picks. But now that we're only a short time away from the draft kicking off, we've had a chance to take in all that information, and we are going to dive into what I think will happen with the first round of the 2021 NFL draft. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, down below, hit that like button. If you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, 100% subscribe. Hit that button right now. Do it. Do it. Make sure you do it and stick around for all of our content. And also, in the comments, when this mock is done, let me know who your favorite team is, and let me know, in a perfect world, who will they be drafting in the first round. If your team doesn't have a first round pick, sorry. Just tell me who you think you would like to have if your team had a first round pick. Let's go with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop into it. Roll it up, Taylor. It's time to jump into my final mock draft of the NFL offseason. Jumping over number 1 overall, we already know Trevor Lawrence, right? That hasn't changed. At number 2 overall to the New York Jets, we know that hasn't changed either, right? Zach Wilson's going to the New York Jets. We know that. Those two are easy. Those two are in the books. 1.03. I absolutely hate to admit it, but I finally agree that I believe, based on everything I've heard, Mac Jones is going number 3 overall to the San Francisco 49ers. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I don't think he's the best pick here, but for some reason, Kyle Shanahan sees something in Mac Jones that believes he is their franchise quarterback. There are multiple outlets, multiple huge outlets reporting that it's Mac Jones, possibly Trey Lance. A lot of people are leaning towards Mac Jones, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And right now there seems to be a fire that is Mac Jones, and it is burning under Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle Shanahan has to draft him. And I don't know why, but that's who I'm going to be going with here. At number 4 overall, I believe Atlanta truly wants to move back, but I don't think anybody's going to want to pay the price to get up to number 4, knowing that a couple of these guys could fall a little bit lower. They end up sticking where they're at, not getting the type of return they would have liked, and they go with Kyle Pitts there to continue moving forward with that offense and putting together, hopefully, a really good offense in 2021. The Cincinnati Bengals, I don't agree with it either, but I'm starting to believe that Ja'Marr Chase will be the pick at 1.05. Part of the reason that I'm thinking that is because this offensive draft class is going to be very, very good. Yes, you could get Sewell here. Yes, you could get Slater here. But I believe they end up holding off and they go for somebody in the next round. Maybe like an Inchenberg out of Notre Dame, or one of these other guys that could potentially maybe move down into the second round. I think that's where they make their move, because they probably still would like to keep Jonah Williams at left tackle, and they'll draft someone that can play right tackle instead. At number 1.06, Penei Sewell out of Oregon, considered one of the best tackle prospects in quite some time to come out. The Miami Dolphins don't absolutely need to add a tackle here, but when a guy like Sewell falls to you, you put him in there and you protect Tua Tagovailoa for the next several years. Justin Fields goes to 1.07, where Detroit normally would be. New England's going to move up, and they're going to take Justin Fields, and they're going to have their quarterback of the future. He gets to sit behind Cam Newton for a little bit and learn, which I think is absolutely perfect. And then he gets to take over as the next great quarterback of the New England Patriots. Love that selection there. Carolina gets Rashawn Slater falling to them. They need an offensive tackle. Slater's considered the 1B tackle in this draft. A lot of people think he is right on par with Sewell's talent and believe that he is the guy that will go shortly after him. He's going to go at 8 overall for me. The Denver Broncos end up going with Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. Yes, there is a possibility that they could go Lance, but after reading quite a bit from Denver Broncos beat writers, they do not believe that there is going to be a quarterback taken by the Broncos. If Parsons is sitting here, he is the absolute perfect fit to Bradley Chubb and Von Miller in the middle of that defense. While those two guys do a lot of the rushing, he would be a great spot there. At 1.10, Dallas would typically be picking here, but their boy Kyle Pitts is off. At this point, what can we get? People are going to be calling for Trey Lance. I believe the Washington football team is the team that puts together the best package. Ron Rivera gets Trey Lance, who can bring some of the same type of aspects to the game that his longtime quarterback in Carolina did, Cam Newton. Trey Lance goes to the Washington football team. They move up to the 10th overall pick, and then Dallas will drop back a little bit. The New York Giants. I'm thinking Elijah Vera Tucker here, okay? And I love me some Elijah Vera Tucker, okay? If you watch the last mock draft we did, Taylor believes that my love for him might be a little bit weird, but whatever. Elijah Vera Tucker, New York Giants fans, if this pick is made, absolutely love it. You need to love it. Vera Tucker is going to be a guy that can be on the inside. You could move him to the outside if you absolutely needed to. He's played all over the place at USC. Elijah Vera Tucker is a great pick here to protect Daniel Jones. You've got a lot of assets for Daniel Jones. Protect him and give him time to throw him to those assets now. The Philadelphia Eagles, in need of a true outside X, get Jalen Waddle here, wide receiver out of Alabama. Locking in a wide receiver here is almost an absolute must for them. They need another weapon. The Los Angeles Chargers get their offensive left tackle of the future, Christian Darrisaw, out of Virginia Tech. This is an absolute must pick for them as well. They need to get an offensive tackle, protect Justin Herbert, give him time to throw. The Minnesota Vikings. Now, Elijah Vera Tucker would be my perfect fit here for them. But obviously, he goes just a little bit before that. So we're going with Kwity Paye, edge out of Michigan. He ends up being the number 1 edge taken off the board. I think that potentially happens. He's not my number 1 edge, but I think he is good enough at this point. The Vikings need to bring in a little bit more of a pass rush, and Kwity Paye will do that for him. The Detroit Lions at 1.15, they end up taking the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Devonta Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. I believe his weight and his height are slowly moving him down the draft board a little bit. Now, I will say this. I like Devonta Smith here because with what they currently have, he can go into the slot and play just fine. Now, I really would like the Detroit Lions to take like Rondale Moore in the second round. If they go Smith here, they're not going to be going with Moore in the second round though, but that's okay. I'm all right with taking Devonta Smith here. And they've added some more picks from their trade from New England. The Arizona Cardinals go with J.C. Horn, the first cornerback taken off the board out of South Carolina. I feel that J.C. Horn is going to fit Arizona's scheme a little bit better than what Patrick Surtain will. I like J.C. Horn going here. He's not my cornerback 1 in this draft, but I believe he's made enough noise at this point that taking him as the first cornerback 1, honestly, in my opinion, isn't that bad of a move. Doesn't upset me in any way, shape, or form. I think Arizona is going to be the perfect place for him. The Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders need somebody in the middle of their defense. They need a guy that can do a little bit of everything. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame, JOK, might be one of the more underrated players in this draft. Absolute beast, can play the entire field, can move and go get guys from anywhere. He is definitely a guy that can become that voice in the middle of the defense and be the captain while making those big time plays. JOK going here, absolutely love it for Las Vegas. The Miami Dolphins. They get a tackle in the beginning of the draft. So what do? They get another weapon for Tua here towards the end of the first to 18 overall, taking Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. I absolutely love this because, yes, they've signed Will Fuller, but Will Fuller is not a guy that's ever been able to stay healthy. And he's only on a 1-year deal. So bring in Marshall. Marshall could play in the slot to begin with. Put him in the slot. Let Fuller play on the outside. And then when Fuller's gone next year, Marshall moves out and takes over. Patrick Surtain II going here to 1.19 to the Dallas Cowboys. I believe Dallas, that's the reason they're going to trade back, because they know wherever they trade back to, they're going to get their hands on a top cornerback that they really need to have for that defense. The Chicago Bears get a guy that I still believe is the cornerback one in this draft. If it weren't for Caleb Farley and his back injury, he would be the cornerback one in this draft. He'd be taken first overall, but he is slipping a little bit because of some of that talk of those injuries. Caleb Farley comes down here a little bit, and he ends up dropping down to 1.20, and the Chicago Bears get an absolute steal here. The Indianapolis Colts at 1.21 get Dylan Raduns out of North Dakota State. I absolutely love this guy, a mauler. They need to put him on the offensive line. He is going to fit in well with the mentality they have there on the offensive line in Indianapolis. Perfect fit for them. The Tennessee Titans, they need someone to replace Corey Davis and play on the opposite side of A.J. Brown. Corey Davis is gone. Jonnu Smith is gone. Let's bring in Rashad Bateman to be that guy on the opposite side of the field of A.J. Brown and help take off some of that pressure. Gregory Rousseau is going to the New York Jets out of Miami. I believe he fits Salah's scheme perfectly. This is the guy that he is going to want, okay? He's going to go into New York. Yes, he's a little bit of a project. Yes, he's a guy that might take a little bit of time, but his physical traits, the characteristics that he has is not something that can be taught. The technique and things that he needs to get better at, those things can be taught. Everything else, though, he absolutely has it. The Pittsburgh Steelers at 1.24, I don't love it at all. I don't want them to take a running back in the first round. For you fantasy football fans, this is a great pick. In terms of winning a Super Bowl, though, it's not. Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama, going at 1.24 here. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I don't want to see it. However, it doesn't matter. I'm not making the pick. I've done a little bit of reading. I've checked into some different beat reporters out of Pittsburgh. To me, it feels like Najee Harris is going to end up being the guy if he's here for Pittsburgh. At 1.25 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jalen Phillips, edge out of Miami. A guy that I believe would be the edge one in this class. But again, there's some injury concerns of things like that. But for me, he is the most complete edge defender in this draft. He can play the run well. He can rush the passer. He can go inside. He can do a lot of different things that you want your edge rusher to do. This isn't a guy that's strictly at the quarterback. This is a guy that can do a little bit of everything, and that's absolutely what the Jacksonville Jaguars need. The Cleveland Browns, they just moved on from Sheldon Richardson. There's some talk. They want to possibly bring him back, but Christian Barmore, interior defensive lineman out of Alabama, is going to be sitting here at 1.26. They just signed Jadeveon Clowney. Yes, I still think they could be looking at an edge. I don't necessarily think Clowney's going to stick his hand in the ground all the time. I think he's going to be standing up a little bit, so you can still have an edge. However, now that Sheldon Richardson's out the door, it's Christian Barmore. At 1.27, the Baltimore Ravens, with their first round pick, are taking Trevon Moehrig out of TCU. Safety absolutely helps that defense a little bit. The 1.28 to the New Orleans Saints is going to be Greg Newsome, cornerback out of Northwestern. A guy that's not flashy, but he does everything well, okay? He doesn't do anything great. He does everything well. New Orleans in that division, exactly what you need. Creed Humphrey to the Green Bay Packers at 29th overall. Creed Humphrey, a guy that has slowly crept in to the end of the first round conversation. A guy that can play either guard position or he can be a center. He can step in and help the Green Bay Packers absolutely right away, 100%. He played center at Oklahoma. Love this pick for them because they need to work on that offensive line a little bit more. The Buffalo Bills at 1.30. And my first couple of mock drafts, I thought, yeah, running back. And then I slowly started to look at it. I was like, man, they could get some decent defensive people that could fall here. There's some different stuff that they could do. But Travis Etienne sounds like the guy the Bills are going after. There's even talk that they could possibly move up. I don't think they need to move up. I think he will be here for them. However, if they do move up, it's Travis Etienne that they're going to be going after. And at 1.31, the Baltimore Ravens' second first-round pick, Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. Help protect Lamar Jackson a little bit more. And again, that run offense that they love to utilize, you got to have some good offensive tackles to be able to utilize that. And finally, to end out the first round pick, 32, Jayson Owuah, edge out of Penn State. A guy that has kind of really like a large area of outcomes. He could definitely be a guy that returns value at the end of the first. He's a guy that could return value at the beginning of the third. He's kind of all over the place. But Tampa Bay, the best thing that they can do with him is they can get him and they can kind of just work him in a little bit. They don't need anything. They could not draft at all in this NFL draft, and they could go win another Super Bowl. But what Owuah does is they can bring him in, they can switch him in and out a little bit, rotate him in and out, let him build up, let him work on some of those things, and then that first round talent, it's going to pop in 2022. So there you have it. It's in the books. The final mock draft of the season, ladies and gentlemen. So don't forget, right here on YouTube, we're going to be live, baby. First night of the NFL draft. We've got a ton of giveaways. We're going to be breaking down all the picks. The entire gang is going to be here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and do not miss out. If you haven't done so yet, hit that like button for me as well. And don't forget, down in the comments, let me know for your team in the first round, who would you like to see them draft? Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to get out of here. Do me a favor, though. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.